Most people think climate collapse will arrive like a Hollywood movie. A giant tsunami, a sudden explosion, one dramatic day where civilization fails apart. But scientists say reality is far more dangerous because the planet doesn't usually collapse all at once. It changes slowly, quietly until the old world disappears without most people even noticing. Right now, Earth is experiencing the hottest years ever recorded in human history. Floods that used to happen once in centuries are now appearing every few years. Wildfires are burning longer, heat waves are becoming deadlier, and oceans are warming faster than scientists expected. But here's the strange part. Most people still wake up, go to work, scroll social media, and assume life is normal. That disconnect is what terrifies the climate scientists the most. Because according to many environmental researchers, humanity is no longer preventing climate change. We are now trying to survive its consequences. To understand how serious this is, we need to understand one incredible fact. The oceans have been protecting humanity for decades. When we humans burn coal, oil and gas, greenhouse gases trap extra heat inside Earth's atmosphere. But according to the IPCC, NOAA, NASA and the World Meteorological Organization, over 90% of this excess heat did not stay in the air. The oceans absorbed it. Without the oceans acting like a giant heat sponge, large parts of the Earth would already be far more difficult to live in. Climate scientist Johan Rockström explains that Earth's systems are deeply interconnected. Oceans, forests, ice sheets, atmosphere, all working together like organs inside a living body. But every sponge has a limit. Ocean temperatures are now reaching records high. Marine heat waves are becoming more frequent. Coral reefs are dying, and warmer oceans also create stronger storms because hurricanes feed on warm water like fuel. Scientists at NOAA and Copernicus climate services warn that rising ocean heat content is one of the clearest indicators that global warming is accelerating. What we experience today isn't only today's pollution, it's decades of trapped energy finally revealing itself. Psychologists have a term called shifting baseline syndrome. It means every generation accepts the world they grow up with as normal. If environmental destruction happens slowly enough, humans adapt psychologically before reacting politically. Your grandparents remember colder summers, more predictable rain, cleaner rivers, more insects, more birds, and winters that actually felt cold. But younger generation grew up with heat waves, smoke-filled skies, and climate anxiety becoming normal life. That normalization is dangerous because while society adapts emotionally, the physical systems of the earth continue changing underneath us. Environmental scientist Johan Rockström and his team introduced the idea of planetary boundaries in landmark 2009 Nature study. The idea was simple but terrifying. Earth has natural limits. Cross too many of them and the system that keeps civilization stable begins breaking down. And according to the newer assessment, humanity has already crossed several of those boundaries, including climate change, biodiversity loss, freshwater disruption, and chemical pollution. In other words, human civilization is now operating outside the safest conditions that allowed humanity to flourish for thousands of years. Now, scientists are especially worried about something called climate tipping points. A tipping point is when the system changes so much that it cannot be easily returned to its previous state. Imagine pushing a chair backwards. At first, it rocks safely, but push it 1 inch too far and it flips completely. Earth may be approaching several of those moments. Arctic ice. The Arctic acts like Earth's mirror. Bright white ice reflects sunlight back into space. But when ice melts, darker ocean water absorbs more heat instead. That creates a feedback loop. More warming melts more ice. More melted ice causes more warming. Some researchers now warn that Arctic warming is happening roughly 4 times faster than the global average. And then there's something called permafrost. It is a ground that stays frozen for at least 2 years continuously. But in many places, it has remained frozen for thousands of years, like Siberia and northern Canada. Under that frozen ground are massive amounts of dead plants and organic material trapped like a giant underground freezer. But because the planet is getting warmer, that frozen ground is starting to melt. And when it melts, it releases gases like methane and carbon dioxide into air. The scary part is, methane traps heat much faster than normal carbon dioxide. So the more the earth warms, the more the frozen ground melts. And the more the frozen ground melts, the more heat gets trapped. It becomes a dangerous cycle that keeps making the planet warmer on its own. That's what scientists mean when they talk about feedback loop. At some point, nature itself starts speeding up climate change even without humans adding more pollution. Many people still think climate change is only an environmental issue. It's not. It's becoming an economic issue, a food issue, a housing issue, a survival issue. Extreme heat damages crops, droughts reduce harvest, floods destroy farmlands. That means food becomes more expensive. Scientists sometimes call this a climate inflation effect. You may already be paying for climate change without realizing it. Power grids struggle during extreme heat because millions of people need cooling at same time. And the poorer communities suffer first and worst because they have fewer resources to adapt. Climate change is no longer just about protecting polar bears or saving forests. It is increasingly shaping the cost, safety, and stability of everyday human life. So, is it too late? Not exactly. Scientists keep repeating one important thing. Even a small rise in Earth's temperature makes a huge difference. For example, the difference between the planet's warming by 1.5 degrees and 2 degrees may sound tiny to us, like changing the temperature of a room. But for Earth, that small increase could affect hundreds of millions of people through stronger heat waves, water shortages, floods, crop failures, and people losing their homes. That's why researchers still push for rapid emission cuts, cleaner energy systems, stronger infrastructure, and ecosystem protection. But the speed of action matters. Johan Rockström describes this movement as humanity entering a completely new relationship with Earth, where human civilization itself has become powerful enough to destabilize planetary systems. The old planet is gone. The stable world humans depended on for thousands of years is changing. The real question now is whether humanity adapts intelligently or waits until the adaptation becomes survival. Next time the sky looks perfectly normal, remember, some of the most dangerous changes in history happen slowly enough that people mistake them for normal.